Year three under Dana Holgorsen is a big year for the Houston Cougars. This is a team that definitely needs to take a step forward, has been struggling for the past few years under Major Applewhite, and now with Holgorsen taking over, fans are getting a little restless with the lack of production. I will say that this is the first year that we should actually judge Dana Holgorsen and what he can do for Houston, because he has been doing a roster overhaul and trying to figure out what he can do with the pieces that Applewhite left him. So this is finally his first roster that's a majority of his guys, and so I think this is really the first year that we can actually judge him and his production at Houston. It's going to be interesting to see where this team goes. Like I said, there's been struggles and there have been some frustrations, but this is a roster that's been revamped and reshaped into something that he wants, and it'll be interesting to see if that actually results in more wins. Number 10, tight end Christian Trahan. It's expected that he's going to take on a bigger role this year after catching, or has 294 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. Trahan is a guy who's a great pass catcher. He's just a natural catching the ball, and he's improved a lot as a blocker, which is another thing that's going to be huge now in Dana's air raid offense, which is what he's trying to get to at least. Trahan shouldn't have to block. He should just have to catch passes. And if they can do that, Houston's passing game is going to be in good hands. Houston's offense is going to be in good hands. Number 9, linebacker Donovan Mutin. Now, if he is healthy all year, he is going to be a great potential all-conference talent for this team. Hard-hitting linebacker who's really grown in his role and knows what to do, has some natural instincts, and he's going to be bringing on a couple new faces to the linebacking group. A guy like Deontay Anderson who will come in at linebacker. He'll teach them the ropes, show them how to do everything, and hopefully elevate that level of play at the linebacker position. Number 8, linebacker defensive end DeAnthony Jones. It's essentially like a linebacker. He's a stand-up guy. A guy who I don't know if I've ever seen someone time snaps the way Jones does. And I think that he could be the next great pass rusher for Brian Early. Early, we need to talk about a little bit here. He's just killing it in terms of defensive lineman. He basically turned Peyton Turner into a first-round pick. So he is one of who I pick as a rising star for G5 coaches, a guy who probably isn't going to be around much longer if everything goes how I think it's going to go for Houston this year. Number 7, nose tackle Chidozie Nwankwo. If he's on the field this year, which we won't go into that, but if he's on the field, this is a guy who's not going to put up a ton of big numbers because he's just not that type of player, but a guy who is very strong, very powerful. There's a reason why he chose to wear number 10 to emulate Ed Oliver, and while he's not going to do the production that Ed Oliver will do, he's going to be a problem. He's going to produce a lot of pressures, produce a lot of hurries. He's going to plug up the middle. It's going to be tough to block him with just one guy, and if he's able to play this year, it's going to be fun to see what he's able to do up the middle. Number 6, quarterback Clayton Tune. Clayton Tune has a lot of pressure on his shoulders this year after throwing for 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns with 10 picks. If his decision making can get better, if he can just stay calm through the beginning of games and figure things out, he is more than capable of having a monster year. Now, Clayton Tune gets a lot of crap because fans are just not a big fan of him. They just associate him with Major Applewhite and think that he's just not capable of being a great quarterback. And I just don't think that's the case. Now, there's a lot of other factors that go into that. The offensive line needs to play better. Just plain and simple, they need to play better. Now, Tune had his faults. His decision-making needs to get better, like I said. But a lot of his mistakes were forced because he had to escape the pocket as soon as he caught the football. So if the line can get better, it's going to be fun to see what this offense can do. Speaking of that line, number 5 is Cody Russi. The Louisiana Tech transfer is a guy who finishes plays, and he is going to get everybody else on board with that. maybe not the most physically powerful or strongest player, but he's definitely a player that is going to play to the whistle. He's going to beat his man however he needs to, and that's an attitude that the offensive line needs. Like I said, Tune needs more blocking up front. He needs more time to throw, and guys like Russie are going to make sure that happens. Number 4, wide receiver Nathaniel Dell, former Independence Community College transfer, was the leading receiver last year with 428 yards and 3 touchdowns. They're going to use him out on the outside. I don't know if he's going to be able to thrive like that, but Dana knows what he's doing, and I trust that he's going to be able to figure it out. Dell clearly had no issues working on the outside last year, so it'll be interesting to see how he follows up his 2020 production in 2021. Number 3, defensive tackle Lamar Bankston, the Iowa State transfer, had a monster spring from what I'm being told. And from watching his film, it feels like he's going to be a phenomenal addition to this Houston team. Now, he and Nwankwo are going to be a problem on the inside. And Bankston just is a nonstop fighter for finding the ball carrier, finding the quarterback. And I think that he's going to have a crazy year for Houston. Number 2, cornerback / punt returner / kick returner, Mr. Do-It-All, Marcus Jones. First team All AAC as the punt returner last year, former Troy transfer. Just if you get the ball in his hands as a returner, the opposing team is just in trouble. And it's really only a matter of time before he houses one. So basically just don't kick the ball to him. As in terms of a cornerback, now he is significantly better than he was at Troy. And he was good at Troy, and now he's taking his game to a whole nother level. A guy who has all conference potential as a returner, but also as a cornerback. I think that he is one of the quickest rising players in the conference, maybe even in the country. And then number 1 is cornerback Marvin Williams, a guy who I don't think gets enough recognition and enough credit for what he does. If you go back 2 years ago and watch what he did against CD Lamb, you'll be impressed with what he can do. And I think that he'll have a big year this year, and people will start noticing what he can do. Dana Holgorsen has the guys that he wants on his team. He has the roster that's mostly his, and it's going to be fun to see if they're able to take a step forward. Now, a lot of people are kind of writing them off because they don't think that the offense is going to be very good and the defense is going to carry them, but it's still going to be interesting to see what this team can do. There's a lot of questions on this team, but there's also a lot of potential, and I think that fans just need to calm down and just sit back and see what he does and really what is actually year one. I think that he did a lot of things to get the most out of the talent that he was given, and now he's done well to fix the talent issue on the roster, and now most of these guys are his. Like I said, it's going to be fun to watch. There's really only 2 guys on this list here, 3 guys maybe, 3 guys, 4, I'd say 3 that are not Dana's guys, and that's something to be excited about and realize that the life could be better, and it might just be that way in 2021. Houston may not be contending for a conference championship, but they should make a bowl game and show signs of improvement in year 3.